Welcome back.
Welcome back.
I hope everybody's been having a good week and a good fall. If you live in another country, though, like, it could be spring, right? If it's the other flip, like, the other side of the...
Moon. The other side of the moon. Is that what you're going with?
No.
Yes, in the southern hemisphere.
In the
Yes.
southern hemisphere. You could be coming up on summer. How lucky for you! We are coming up on winter. It's a little depressing.
You're not coming up on winter. We're in the fall.
Okay.
You're skipping a whole season.
Well, I know, but everything is heading towards winter.
Well, for that reasoning, we're coming up on summer.
Yeah, but we got to get through winter.
Let's just stay in the fall.
Okay, I'm good with that, but like by the end of next week, I'm not going to have any leaves on my trees anymore. They're going to be all gone.
That is not true. We'll check back in with you people. Now, to what we're actually here talking about today.
Yeah.
Is this 5 to Thrive that we've been talking about. We realized we haven't really taken anyone through this.
Yeah.
So we thought that would be a good idea to actually know what you're getting if you get it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
So let's start. If you purchase it's a downloadable product, which means that you get the file. So the file will look a lot like it is printed, right? But you could read it off an iPad or something like that, just as it's a PDF, right? Mm-hmm. So any way you read a PDF, you could read it off your phone, off of that. However, if you want, you could also print it, and
like we have done.
I feel like this dates us a little bit, makes us seem a little old because we actually print things.
It's true though.
But it is true. So
how many pages is it?
18 pages. Okay.
All
So, you could print it in black and white too if you wanted to save on ink. That would not be tragic. It would be the same, similar. Mm-hmm. But let's talk a little bit. So this is part 1, and part 1 is we're hoping that people will hear that someone has cancer and think, oh, this guide would be helpful. The 5 to Thrive guide would be helpful for someone who just found out that they had cancer. That's what we want. Because part 1 is diagnosis to treatment, which I don't think I've never really heard it talked about anywhere, but I feel like it's just such a critical part of this whole process, and there's so much to process during that time that it deserves its own part, its own guide, right?
It's when the biggest freak out happens and when we know the least.
Yeah, which is just a
terrible
bad combination.
Yeah.
Exactly. So with all of our guides, they all focus on the 5 areas. And so the first, you're going to get a little introduction that'll talk a little bit about kind of how the guide works, and then one specific to this period of time. And then we're going to jump right into mental. So of the 5 areas, we start out with the mental aspects of how you can deal with cancer maybe a little bit better, right? I don't want to go through all of them.
No. But just in general, what are the 5 again?
Mental, physical, nutrition, medical, and support.
Okay. So within those 5, basically, what would I be getting if I bought this?
You'd be getting some tips and some things to consider in each of those different areas.
Okay.
So this is kind of the stuff I learned, the maybe things that are unique to me. People always ask the questions like, what did you do? Or how were you these are my answers of what I was doing during that time. And what I was thinking about and what I knew the potential hurdles were and how I was choosing to deal with them. So,
from all different standpoints.
So from a mental side of things, I just knew very early on that I needed to protect my thoughts. I realized after having had a surgeon, before I was even diagnosed stage 4, I had a surgeon tell me that the statistics of stage 4 were not very good. That was one of the first things I thought of when I realized that I was stage 4. I realized very quickly that the things that people said to me, the things that I read, all of that was going to stay in my brain. And when it was negative, then I had to deal with that, right? That was the recurring thought. How do I challenge this belief? How do I think about something else?
And so when you were going through that, where did that come from? I mean, how did you learn? Did you read it? Did you? What?
I don't know if I read it. It came from a compilation of things over the first few weeks. It came from my brother talking to me about statistics and saying, ultimately, no one can determine which side you're going to be on. And so I needed anything I could get at that point. So I was like, okay, even if I have 1% chance or less, there's still a possibility that I can be in that 1%, right? So it was things like that. It was a letter from a woman I never even met or knew that said, you can do this. I will help you. Here's a cassette tape to listen to. It was all of these. It was things like that. And it was also desperation, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
It was, I don't want to live the rest of my days assuming that I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And so what can I turn to that will help me from a mental standpoint? And I realized that there was not much out there, out in the world, that was going to be positive. So we just kind of shut down the outside world, right? I was very careful about what I allowed in.
So, I mean, I think maybe half the things in here, you didn't read them, you didn't get them from it, you just figured them out, I think.
Yeah.
Trial and error. Some things worked that you did, some things didn't that worked that you did. I think with the mental side of a lot of the things that you did or pieces of advice, I think they were practiced. I don't think you were good at them in the beginning.
Oh, no.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what this guide is going to get you is, different things from a mental side that you would be able to go through.
Yeah, I was trying to put together some sort of a plan to kind of figure out things that were good for me, that I felt like could maybe impact the cancer and I knew wouldn't be detrimental. What could I do every day? Because I couldn't just sit on the couch and wait to hear more bad news.
Right. And, with all of this guide, this is not meant for somebody to follow word for word and go through and literally everything that Heather did, I'm going to do, because that's not how we work as humans.
Yeah, it's not a prescription. Yeah. It's here's some ideas, and I'm pretty sure in the very first part of this, I talk about, work from whatever feels the most natural to you or the best or the easiest. Start from there and build on things, right? That's how we work as humans. So take something that seems like what I sometimes call low-hanging fruit, do that, and then incorporate more things. If it feels overwhelming to incorporate so many things, then that's negating the point of all of this. Right. The point is not to cause more overwhelm. It's to give you a way forward. and some ideas for things that might help in these areas that we identified as really important.
And they're not coming, I think your neighbor's probably awesome, but they're not coming from your neighbor who heard it on a TV show they watched. This is coming from someone who did it, who's walked the walk, who's now talking the talk, who is still here after 26 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So the second category, is physical. Why is this important? I mean, what?
Well, one, I would say in terms of low-hanging fruit, this was the easiest for me to go towards, right? What could I do that could help my body from a physical standpoint be strong, knowing what I knew from, just the classes I took or whatever, being in healthcare to a certain extent. Obviously,
being an athlete,
the stronger my body could be, the better I felt like it would be able to, take on the challenge in front of it, right? Mm-hmm. So, and I realized that it felt really great to me to have done something physically made me feel good mentally, knowing that I had done something. And, I mean, working out, being physical, takes up time. And I had time. And I had a lot of thoughts going on. So this helped me put together a concrete plan of, the ways I was going to take care of myself.
So what you're not going to get is you're not going to get a workout plan.
No.
You're not going to get, you are going to get tips and pieces of advice from something you can do to prepare your body before you start treatment, because most people are starting treatment that are getting a metastatic diagnosis.
Yeah.
So these are just tips, but they're tips because of what she knows about what is coming next and how you can prepare yourself and create good habits.
Yeah.
Right? Similar to our third one, which is nutrition.
Nutrition. So I think of all of these areas, people, the neighbors, will chime in about nutrition. Everybody will tell you something. And
there's a lot on the internet, people.
And there's a lot on the internet. And I am very careful about saying, there's no one magic food. If there was one magic food, we would have figured it out and we'd all be doing it. Right? Yep. We are smarter than that.
Yep.
So
again, this is not a diet plan for you.
No.
That's not what you're going to get. You're going to get some basic nutritional pieces of advices from this to, again, prepare your body for treatment coming up down the road, whether that's a week or a month from now. And this is coming from a place of knowledge, and the power that putting the right foods into your body what that equate to is immense. So yeah.
And the other thing
very serious.
I would say with that is, again, everything ties back to mental.
Yeah.
So if this makes you feel terrible, or you're going to feel guilty about things, or you're going to feel deprived, don't do it. I honestly feel that way. I would rather you eat whatever your diet is, and not be guilting yourself or making yourself feel terrible about it, than be trying to, eat this super healty diet and hating it.
Yep.
So
again, taking little pieces from this and incorporating it into your life specifically into nutrition can only make it better. It's only going to make it better. If you don't eat any vegetables ever in your life and you choose to, I'm going to eat a vegetable or two.
Yeah.
Okay, you're getting nutrients that you didn't get before. That's only going to be helpful for you.
We've talked about this before too, but I think we're very much, or a lot of times our mindset is, I have to eliminate all of these things. You know what? Start by adding a few things that are good for you. Yeah. We just need to turn the tables on these things a little bit. So
again, pieces of advice when it comes to nutrition.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we move into the part that we don't have a lot of say in some ways.
Right. So the next part is medical.
Yep.
And from medical, this is not, hey, this is the drug that's going to work for you. This has nothing. I don't weigh in on treatments. That is not for me.
Well, it wouldn't do any good because everybody listening to this has different treatments anyway and a different treatment plan. And every year we evolve into a smarter treatment based on the statistics that are coming and what we know about the human body and the human genome. We're not going down the same path. There's so many paths now. So that would be a waste of time to tell people exactly, do this because I did this medically.
Right. This is more about how to work with your medical team, how to be an active participant, both in and out of the medical center, and maybe how to navigate something so it just doesn't feel so cumbersome. Just some of those behind the scenes things that
a lot of behind the scenes
that
things in here that
the
can help
rookies
people.
don't know, and that every seasoned person with cancer, or a person that has been through this many times, they know what
they had to
do.
figure it out.
Yeah, no, they had to figure it out.
It's...
And this is the other thing. I feel like it would be wonderful if our medical centers would kind of be upfront with some of these things, but they're just really not. So, here's some tips for that, right? We want your days in and out of the cancer center to be the best they can be. And these are some things that can help you kind of partner with your medical providers, and also that, if the partnering with isn't going well, then maybe that's a sign as well.
Yeah. And most of the anxiety that people are going to have prior to starting treatment are going to be about what are they going to do to me? I've seen these movies and I've seen this and I've heard stories because I went on the internet and searched and stuff. And you're going to have a lot of unknowns coming into your head, which obviously creates anxiety, which again, if we're talking about the mental side of things and going back to, what she has in that, it does nothing good for you. So these tips and in the medical portion of this are truly unbelievably great tips that can a little bit put you at ease before going into that. And then I'm not talking about here's what chemotherapy is. It's not that.
Again, you're going to get all those pamphlets. I didn't find them super helpful, but this is more, again, the behind the scenes of what it's like to be a cancer patient.
Right.
And maybe how to make that a little bit better.
So again, the pamphlet gives you a couple of pages on that, tips for that. That's
the other thing. This is not like we want to give you information, but we're not trying to overwhelm you. I have written a book. But you know what? I didn't need a book. I want this to be short and sweet and concise. I want you to be able to feel like you can get through it, and then you can get through it again and again and again. That's also something from a mental... I didn't do things one day. I did things every day. The same things. Yeah. So...
And it's similar to why you started this podcast a couple of years ago, is you were getting a lot of the same questions over and over and said, well, why don't we just put it in one spot so people can come and get to that or re-listen to it, or find a specific topic that they're looking for and listen to that. Well, that's what this is in print form.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's something because not everybody can just listen to a podcast and just take in everything from that. Some people, like me, I need a visual. I want to check things off. I want to write things down. I want to circle things. I want to highlight that. I want to use it. I want to reread on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So that is great for me. And I get that's not everybody, but that's what this gets you. Mm-hmm. So this next section of support, what the heck is this about?
Support is helping you lead the people around you. Support looks different in different families, and there's a lot of different dynamics that go on. But again, support is truly a place where you need to have some boundaries and to take care of yourself. And I think it seems counterintuitive to people when we first start talking about support, And we sometimes say, no, the people around you need to find support other places. But my singular goal was to be able to give my body what it needed. And that I knew that I couldn't really take care of anybody else. And this is kind of telling you some of the ways that can help you maybe put together a plan that feels good to the people around you, but also to you, right?
Yeah.
Meets everybody's
We
needs.
hear stories of people going through cancer and what they're doing in their lives while they're going through treatment or even and we just listen to it and just go, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's, not to say that your body can't do what it needs to do to live for a long, long time, but you're not helping it in all ways that you can. And so each of these 5 to thrive categories here build on each other.
Yeah.
The support is going to allow your mental to be even higher. The support that you get or give and get, and it's all ways on that when it talks about support, but it's going to maybe allow you to be able to focus on nutrition and fitness because a certain category, a certain area has been taken care of. And it's probably not something anybody even puts into a category when you're talking about this, because it's just life.
Yeah.
But it's life that has to change because of this metastatic diagnosis. It has to, if you want those other parts to thrive.
Yeah, I agree. And I think some of it is the being able to really make a plan so that, yeah, maybe somebody can support you from a nutritional standpoint where they literally can help you make the right food, do some things like that. That would be great. But I'm also talking so much about the energy exchange between you and your loved ones in terms of if you have, I'm going to say a mother-in-law because my mother-in-law is gone and she was the sweetest person in the world. But like if you have a mother-in-law who comes to you crying all the time or says, what if, and you get off every time you talk to her, you're way up here, right, with her anxiety and her fear. That's not somebody you can talk to right now. And the people that love you the most sometimes turn all of that on you. And you might have to have some really honest conversations about, hey, wait, I know you're stressed and I am too, but I need you to talk to somebody else about your stress right now. Like, I can't do this. They got to turn it outward for a while. And likewise, with those of you with kids, I think you need to the best of your ability, keep it simple, keep it normal, right? I do feel like kids are resilient. If somebody else in your life is picking up a little bit more of the slack for a while, that's okay. Like, but it's really about, what's coming towards you and how that makes you feel.
And there's so many roles that get pointed out in the support area here that at least I don't think a lot of people would even think of. Wait a minute, I need somebody that can help me in that, or can take the lead in that, or that you now don't have to do that. This talks about all of that.
Yes, and being able to, like, if you have a community that wants to support you, that's great. But if you're the one having to do all the work on that, that's really hard. Or the constant updates and the things like that, right? So, we talk about all of those things. So, and then the last couple of pages are pages for you to think about what inspires you. There's a page for you to find some quotes or verses or whatever they look like. Write them down. Again, I wrote stuff every day, so I wouldn't have just done that once. No. I would rewrite that. I know how my brain works, right? The more I do it, the more it goes in. So, I mean, that's just a starting point. There's a little checklist just to, help you. There's so many people who love a to-do list or a check off a box kind of thing. This is, again, just a way for you to start thinking about these things and then generating your own type of
It's
list.
A great checklist for a day 2 post-diagnosis, brain spinning, don't have anywhere to go, stuck at home type of thing,
Yeah.
or whatever. What can I do? This is perfect. And somebody goes down, and you're able to do all of this stuff, honestly, in an afternoon. But it's a great, these are things, and boy, you accomplish something. And you accomplish something, pretty significant by doing that.
Yeah.
So I did. For those of you watching on
YouTube. And then there's just the next steps, because I know this feels like sometimes it feels very final, but you know what? There are next steps, and just maybe this is where you're saying, oh, I need to call and make this appointment, or I need to double check on that. That's fine. Or maybe this is where you're starting to think about what really motivates you and what, all of those kind of things. We're going to talk a lot more about setting goals and that kind of stuff in part 2 and part 3. This is even just remember to breathe. Honestly, it's that kind of thing. And if you're not a big writer, that's fine. You don't need to use it. But
yeah, with all of this, you're going to use the parts that hit home for you, and you're going to know it as soon as you read it. You're going to be like, oh, that's it right there. And maybe you use 1 or 2 things out of this. Well, those are one or two things that are going to be positive for you going into your treatment that you didn't know before, and that's what this is for. Now, I have a pretty good idea you're going to use more than 1 or 2 things, and I also hope you're not reading through this for a couple of weeks. Yeah. I hope you're getting treatment is starting. I mean, that's. Yeah. But I also know the reality and what we hear out there. How, people.
It's not starting immediately.
It's not. It's sometimes
and it might be
a month or
2.
Yeah. It blows my mind, but it is the reality. So these are things that you can do to make when you do start treatment to make that more effective.
Well, and just to put some power into these days too, right? To be able to feel like you are already starting to make a difference in that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So again, everything is always available on heatherjost.com. Yeah. And the other thing would be there are also gift cards or vouchers available for purchase. So you could purchase one of those, and then the person that you bought it for would be able to
use a code and download it.
Yep, download it that way. So that's pretty cool. And we've talked about this before, but they're $8.99. So this is a nice cup of coffee. It's less than McDonald's. It's really just I think it's well worth that price, but I also feel like
it's invaluable, guys. I mean, I'm telling you, if we would have had this back a million years ago, when it would have alleviated so much anxiety with just this is what we can do, and we didn't. And that's why I'm so proud that you did this and created this.
So, awesome.
Good work.
All right. So we will do some upcoming episodes also about the other ones as well.
Yep.
All right.
See ya.
See ya.